Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev is a realized master, mystic, and yogi. He has shown the way for people to attain to their natural joy and to live life with experience from one's own inner nature. His presence is filled with grace and compassion. Sadhguru's scientific approach towards spirituality and work towards the upliftment of humanity have received accolades worldwide. The words that come from him in intensity and utmost clarity, from his deep understanding and wisdom, can change the very core of the being. Belonging to no particular tradition, Sadhguru incorporates what is most valid for the modern person from the spiritual sciences. His work, an outpouring of his blissfulness, finds expression in the form of a ceaseless offering to help all beings. Available to all who are willing, Sadhguru's life is an invitation to the divine through individual transformation. Welcome to the silent revolution of self-realization.
Good evening, everybody. It's really amazing. After 8 centuries in today's society, Rumi is once again popular. It's really amused me and amazed me because Rumi is such an extremist. He's our tribe. Totally extremist. You cannot be a lover unless you're an extremist. A lover who is not an extremist is not at all a lover. If one wants to know love in its utmost intensity, one has to be an extremist. A moderate person cannot be a lover. A lukewarm person cannot be a lover. Only somebody who is boiling with passion, beyond all reason, only he can be a true lover. So especially I see in the United States, everybody is talking about Rumi for whatever reasons. It really amuses me and amazes me that in today's world, people are really talking about Rumi. And everything is about give and take and transaction, who is getting the best out of it. Talking about Rumi it's very beautiful that it's beginning to happen, such a thing. Because Rumi means no giving and taking, just throwing yourself into it and burning up with that passion. This is not unique to Rumi. Anybody who's been a lover, whose love carried them beyond certain limitations, have always been like this. Otherwise, a lukewarm love is an insipid love. It's only a transaction for fulfilling each other's needs and desires, a game that is played. If one wants to use their emotion to reach their ultimate nature, it has to be an extremist kind of emotion. An ordinary emotion will not take people there. It's nice that in New Delhi there is a Rumi club. When I heard about it, I really liked the idea. Because thinking people who have agendas for their life cannot do Rumi. But it's nice that people are thinking about Rumi, at least considering and definitely probably reading his poetry and exchanging, being touched by it in some way. Because an emotion like that is like fire which burns up. It is not going to deliver any benefits, it's just going to burn us up. But it is in burning up the limited that the possibility of the ultimate enters into our lives.
Sadhguru, can you define love for us?
Defining love? Defining love. Let's look at the various forms of expression that love is finding, first of all. For most people in the world, love is just a mutual benefit scheme. Okay. People have different kinds of needs, physical, psychological, emotional, social, financial, so various types of needs. To fulfill these needs, I love you is always a good mantra. Without that mantra, many doors will not open for you. So that's one level of thing. But fundamentally, what is this that we're calling as love? Somewhere, the way the human being is right now, no matter where he is in his life, no matter what he's achieved, somewhere there is a sense of insufficiency. It's not enough the way he is. The way he is right now is not enough. He wants to include something else as a part of himself, to make himself more complete. So love is a huge longing to include the other as a part of yourself. If this longing to include the other as a part of oneself, when it finds an emotional expression, we are calling this love. If this longing to include the other as a part of yourself finds a basic physical expression, we call this sex. If this finds a mental expression, it gets labeled as greed, ambition, whatever. All these are just efforts to include something else as a part of yourself, isn't it? That which is not you right now, you want it to become you. This is the longing of love. So, it is just an emotional expression of the same longing which a human being is constantly longing for, to include something else as a part of himself. This starts from gathering simple things around him to seeking spirituality or God, the same longing to include something else as a part of himself. The fundamental longing to have a larger slice of life than what you have right now. That is a longing, isn't it? Somehow the way it is not enough. You want to experience life little more than the way it is right now. So this longing to include the other as a part of yourself is love. Emotionally, how much ever you make this effort, you get close to that. You're almost there many moments, but next moment it falls down. It doesn't matter how intensely you approach it. You will see you're almost there and it falls apart. You're almost there, it falls apart. So, it gives you a taste of oneness, but never establishes you there. So, love is just a vehicle for oneness. What you're longing for is that oneness. Emotion or love is just one more vehicle to get there. But it is a vehicle which takes you close to the other bank and turns you around, close to the other bank and turns you around, never lands you there. So, when you get sufficiently mauled by the process of love, you will be ready for grace. What is called as grace? Anything that I say will be misunderstood. Because what is not logical and physical cannot be put into language. If we want to use an analogy, gravity is one aspect of life. We are sticking to the planet right now because of gravity, otherwise we would be floating all over the place. We have a body today only because of gravity, otherwise we couldn't gather this body itself. So gravity is one aspect of life which, in a way, is related to the fundamental instinct of self-preservation in a human being. There are two basic forces within you which are constantly functioning which seem to be in conflict with most people. It is not in conflict, but most people see it as in conflict. One is the instinct of self-preservation, which compels you to build walls around yourself to protect yourself. Another part of you is longing to constantly expand. One is trying to build walls, another is trying to expand. The walls of self-preservation that you build for today are the walls of self-imprisonment of tomorrow, isn't it so? Many limitations you establish in your life as a protection for yourself, tomorrow you feel they're imprisoning you and you want to break it and build a bigger prison for yourself. But day after tomorrow, the same big prison feels like a restriction and you want to break it and go to the next stage. So these two longings, one is to preserve yourself, another is to continuously expand. These two things are not opposing forces, these two things are related to two different aspects of who you are. Self-preservation needs to be limited to the physical body. It's only your body which needs to be preserved. Everything else can be mauled and demolished and rebuilt every day. Every day in the morning you can actually get up and build a whole new personality if you want. But right now, your instinct of self-preservation has extended itself to the very way you think, feel and understand life, isn't it? All the time you're trying to protect that. But self-preservation should be limited only to the physical body. Only the body needs preservation. Everything else can be reshaped and recreated as you wish, any moment of your life. So these two forces, because they are in conflict, or they seem to be in conflict, there is a whole problem about all these things that we need systems and systems to speak spiritual processes. If one's instinct of self-preservation, one learns to keep it just within the body and not extend it to other aspects of life, every human being in the planet will be naturally spiritual, will naturally get to his ultimate nature. Only because he is restraining it, because his instinct of self-preservation always tells him, this is not safe, that is not safe. Only body has to be preserved. Everything else is open to everything else, isn't it? That's how it should be. But right now, the way you think, the way you feel, your values, your morals, your ideologies, your religion, all these things need to be preserved. Now, in this, there can be no expansion. Suddenly there seems to be a conflict.
You were talking about love and grace. Can you elaborate that a bit more?
So if we have to use an analogy, gravity and grace, let's put them as opposites. Gravity is trying to hold you down. Grace is something that is trying to lift you up. This is only an analogy, because grace cannot be explained that way. If you're released from the physical forces of existence, then grace bursts forth in your life. It is not that grace has to come, always in your calendars and pictures you saw grace is coming as a few rays of light and reaching a particular person. It is not so. As gravity is active, grace is constantly active. It is just that you have to make yourself available to it. With gravity you have no choice. Anyway you are available to it. But with grace, you have to make yourself receptive and available to the forces of grace. So all the work, whatever kind of spiritual work you do, whether you do prayer or puja or asana, pranayam or whatever you do, ultimately you are just working towards making yourself available to the force of grace. Because without grace you won't be lifted up. Which way you approach it depends upon what you are exposed to, what kind of a person you are. But whatever you're doing, you're just making yourself fit enough to be available to grace.
How do you define inner beauty?
Inner beauty?
Yes.
If you have the right kind of eyes, everything is absolutely beautiful.
There's no relative thing in this.
Relative thing is a social factor, again. It's a training. It depends on what kind of data has gone into your mind. When you're unhappy, only certain things are beautiful, certain things are ugly. When you're very happy, you look at anything, everything looks absolutely beautiful. See, there are many ways to look at this. One simple way is, Right now you may be identified with many things, starting from your physical body, to your mind, to your education, to your religion, to your society, to various things that you hold in your life. But when you simply sit here, if you simply sit with me right now, you're just a piece of life, isn't it? A certain amount of life energy, that's all you are, isn't it so? Identified with many, many things, but fundamentally you're just a certain amount of life energy. So this life energy which you call as myself at this moment, this life energy sometimes has been very joyful. Has it been? Has it been? Please say yes, otherwise it's tragedy. Sometimes it's been utterly miserable, sometimes very peaceful, sometimes turmoil, sometimes agony, sometimes ecstasy. This has happened to this, isn't it? So this life energy which you call as myself is capable of all these things. So if this life energy is capable of all these things, if you were given a choice, what kind of expression your life energy should find right now in this moment, what would you choose, agony or ecstasy? Definitely ecstasy. So if there was a conscious choice about how to keep your life energies right now, definitely you would have kept yourself absolutely joyful and ecstatic. Only because a large part of you is happening unconsciously, other things which you do not want are happening within you. What you do not want is happening in the world. You cannot stop it 100%. Only to some extent we manage these things. But within you, you are the only ingredient. In the world there are a million things. See, if we want to create a situation the way we want it, we need the cooperation of 100 people around us. All of them will never cooperate 100%. They will all play the game that way, isn't it? In any given situation. Even if you're just 2 people in the family, you cannot have the situation 100% the way you want it. Yes or no? This is the reality with the outside. But with the inside, you are the only reality. Nobody in the world happens your way. At least this one person must happen your way, isn't it? But right now even this person is not happening your way. That's why you're asking what is the way to joy. Your mind is not happening the way you want it, your body is not happening the way you want it, your emotion is not happening the way you want it, nor your life energies are happening the way you want it. We need to do something about it, isn't it? If all these 4 are happening the way you want them, you would definitely be joyful every moment of your life, isn't it? Irrespective of what's happening around you. So we need to explore the technology. Because it's a subjective technology. Because the ingredient is you, it's about you. Unless we create a certain atmosphere of commitment and focus to look beyond certain things that you're identified with right now, it will not be possible to explore this. The reason why the spiritual sciences, especially in this country, which was so rich in the mystical traditions, has become so ridiculous is people try to do it anywhere and everywhere without necessary committed atmospheres. So the whole, what we refer to as a spiritual process is just this, that in your experience you create a distance between you and your physical body, between you and your mind. These 2 accumulations, you learn to use them well, but you don't get identified with them. The moment you're not identified with these 2, you will not be identified with anything. You can play your game whichever way you want in the world, but you will not get entangled. The reason why people are afraid of involvement in life, always the so-called spirituality has been talking about detachment. Why are they talking about detachment? Because you're afraid of involvement. You think if you get involved, you'll get entangled. People have generally known only entanglement, not involvement. Without involvement, there's no life, isn't it? Can you experience anything without involvement? Can you really experience anything? Whether the food that you eat, or the people around you, or the life around you, or art, or music, or whatever in your life, can you experience it without involvement? No involvement, no experience, isn't it? Where there is no involvement, there's no possibility of any depth of experience in your life. But people have been always telling you detachment, because they're afraid of entanglement. Entanglement has come fundamentally because you're identified with these two accumulations which you call as body and mind. Because of that, wherever you put your hand, it sticks to you. Wherever you put your hand, it sticks to you. So people are telling, keep away. If you want to keep away from life, you just have to fall dead. It's very simple. Why stay alive?
It's very interesting what you're saying, because what you're saying is that we've always heard detachment. That seems to be always their objective. And you're saying something very interesting, that unless you become involved, you're almost…
No, it's not my statement. This is life, isn't it? Can you know life without involvement? From your experience of life, you tell me. Where there is no involvement, there is no possibility of life, isn't it? So if you want to stay away from life, why are you trying to be alive and stay away from life? Just fall dead, your objective is fulfilled. So this whole detachment nonsense came up because people are afraid of entanglement. And this possibility of entanglement has come because you're identified with something fundamental which is not you. Once you're identified with something that is not you, everything sticks to you. Wherever you put your hand, it gets stuck to you. So because of this experience, people are talking detachment. Fear of involvement has come. But if you avoid involvement, you'll avoid life itself.
I don't think it's fear of involvement. I think it's more of, not wanting to be hurt. When you get yourself…
That is the fear of involvement.
No, not fear of involvement. You say you stay away from… You try and detach yourself, to the material world, or to even to love your own siblings or your wife or your children, that you don't do it with an expectation. When you get attached with an expectation, then there's bound to be hurt. Involvement is very necessary, I agree. But yet, it's not… Detachment is for a specific purpose, to evolve to a higher state and get rid of the things which burden you in life. I look at it more in that way.
Yes, that is the understanding, that by being detached you won't get hurt. So, when I say fear of involvement, it's just that. If you're involved, you could get hurt. If you're involved, you will not get hurt. If you're entangled, you get hurt. It's the entanglement which causes pain and suffering, not involvement. Because people cannot distinguish between involvement and entanglement. They don't know how to draw a line between what is involvement and what is entanglement. A simple, blatant solution seems to be detachment. But detachment is not a solution for life. It's a way of avoiding life, isn't it?
So where do you draw the line between involvement and…
I'm sorry?
So where do you draw the line between involvement and entanglement?
Yes. Now, I'm telling you, what is the basis of entanglement? The fundamentals of entanglement is, you're identified with things that you're not. The moment you're identified with something that you are not, entanglement is inevitable. Wherever you put your hand, it will stick to you. There is no other way. If you sit here now, in your experience, not in your thought, in your experience, if it's clear-cut within you, your body sits here, your mind is out there, what is you is away from this. If distinct separation is there from this, would you get entangled with anything in your life? Only because you're attached to this body, you're entangled with this body, you get entangled with every body. If you are not attached and entangled with this body, you will not be entangled with any body. You can throw yourself into anybody's life with total involvement without the fear of entanglement. If anybody sits with me for 2 minutes, I'm absolutely involved with their life because there is no fear of entanglement. If I'm afraid, if I talk to this person and get involved, suppose if this person does something else tomorrow, will I be hurt? If this possibility is there, I would hesitate to involve, isn't it? If there is a possibility of entanglement and pain attached to it, definitely you would hesitate to involve. When there is no fear of entanglement, that is when you would throw yourself into everything, isn't it?
We're trying to understand how a human being should move forward and get back to the old ways rather than the materialistic ways.
Now, this is very contradictory. You're talking about moving forward and old ways. See, with the distance of time, everything that is old looks nice today. We're talking about old ways. If the old ways are brought in today, totally into our society, into your lives, would you be really happy? Is it true?
I think it's not the way, there's the core values that he's advocating.
So that's what I'm saying. Why are we sticking to some values? Fundamentally because there is no consciousness, there is no inner experience. Yes? Why do you… See, if your humanity is in full flow, this moment, why would you need values? Why should I tell you, be good to this person? If your humanity is fully active this moment, do I have to teach you, please be nice to this man, don't kill him? Do I have to tell you? Only because you're identified with something and just suppress the basic humanity in you, now we have to tell you, please don't kill this man, be good to this man. Okay, he is some other caste, some other creed, but please be good to him. This kind of teaching is necessary simply because we have suppressed the basic nature within us. If your humanity is in full flow, at that moment nobody has to tell you what is good and what's wrong. Anyway, you will be fine. See, all values and moralities have come into the social sphere only because the inner dimensions have not found full flowering. Because the interiority of a human being does not find full expression, somehow it is suppressed by various means. That is when we have to teach people what is right, what is wrong, what is okay, what is not okay. Now the whole process of whatever Rumi is about, whatever spiritual process is about, what we call as yoga is about, is just this. The word yoga means union. Union between what and what? Now, this whole idea of the individual and the rest, me and the other, this fundamental experience of right now, me and the other, is the basis of all the conflict in the existence, isn't it so? There is something called as me, there is something called as the other, which is the basis of all conflict. This me and the other can get extended to groups of people, communities, nations, and various types. But fundamentally, me and the other is the basis of conflict in the universe. Is it so? So what is me, what is not me right now? Right now, what are the things which you call as myself? Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your ideas, your philosophies, this is what you call as me, isn't it? All these things you accumulated from outside, it's not you. If your experience of life transcended the limited accumulations that you have made in your life in the form of body, in the form of thought, in the form of emotion and ideologies and philosophies and values, then there is no such thing as me and you, and there would be no conflict. So the whole aspect of yoga or spiritual process or whatever Rumi is outpouring in a very passionate way is to bring about this experience that if you sit here, there is no such thing as you and me. It's all me or all you. For one moment right now, for one moment, if you experience all these people who are sitting here really as a part of yourself, after that, do I have to teach you morals and values? Be good to this person, don't harm this person, don't kill this person. Would it be necessary for you? Would it be necessary for you? No. Only because you have created a false sense of identity about yourself. Now we have to teach values and values. At no time in the history of humanity, all the people have had the same values. Always, one person's values and the person sitting next, the values are different. Never in the history of humanity have all the people had the same values. Is it so? Is it so, Baba? But that is fine. Now, is it a reality that never in the history of humanity, even within a family of two people don't share exactly 100% the same values? Is it true? So if I stand by my values and you stand by your values, conflict is inevitable. This is the basis of conflict.
As long as you don't start punching each other, you can dialogue.
See, all this will help as long as the situation doesn't go into your corner. You can dialogue as long as it's not gone into your corner. When the situation gets really pushed into your corner and your values are really threatened, you will become violent. When what you believe in is threatened, you will become violent, isn't it so?
What do we do to overcome that?
That we will see. First I want you to see this. The basis of conflict in the world is your values. Because you have one kind of value, somebody has somebody… See, right now the conflict in the world is not between good and bad. One man's belief versus another man's belief. Isn't it so? So these are the values. The values are different and people are constantly fighting. So if you want to go beyond this, if you want to live here without values, then your consciousness has to flower, your humanity has to find full expression. If you begin to experience, even for a single moment in your life, if you start experiencing these people, how you experience the 10 fingers of your hand, after that I don't have to teach you any values or morality about anybody. That which you have known as yourself, with that you have no conflict, isn't it? The conflict is always with the other.
How do you know whether you're a good human being or not?
Say, you being a good human being or a bad human being is only a social reality.
No, we also want to know for ourselves.
For yourself. For yourself, you just have to know whether you're really human or not. No. Because what is it… See, what is it that we consider as human? If we look at the physical body, we are just animal, isn't it? This is just biology like any other animal form. So what is it that makes us human? Somewhere within us there is a certain sense of discretion and discrimination which is not there for the animal. So are you exercising this discretion in every moment of your life or no? This is what makes you a 100% human being or a part human being, part animal. If you look at yourself right now, sometimes the outside situations decide what kind of person you are, isn't it? Someone outside of you, right now one person in front of you acts nasty, you will act nastier than him. No. Somebody… not necessarily, example, okay. Somebody gets angry with you, you get angry with him. Sometimes your chemistry takes over, sometimes your hormone takes over, something else takes over. So many forces are ruling you in a compulsive way. These moments, you are not really a human being. You are many things in human form. There are certain moments when you're very conscious, when you're fully aware of what you're doing, only those moments you function truly as a human being. If you are fully aware and conscious of what you're doing at this moment, the way you function in this world and within yourself would be very, very different, isn't it? If you are very consciously creating every process of life within you, you would definitely make yourself into a very blissful and ecstatic being. Whenever you are in a state where you're very happy and joyful, you are a wonderful person for everybody around you, isn't it so? It's just that when they happen to meet you, when you're not so happy, that's when they see the other sides of you, isn't it? So those moments you're conscious, definitely you will not create any kind of unpleasantness within you. When you're not unpleasant within you, you are incapable of being unpleasant to somebody else. When some unpleasantness is happening within you, knowingly or unknowingly, with good intentions or bad intentions, you will rub this unpleasantness on other people. So good intentions and you thinking you are good is not sufficient to make life beautiful. You have to become a truly blissful being. Only then you will be pleasant to everything around you, not otherwise.
So in the end, be happy yourself to give happiness, right?
If you are joyful by your own nature, not because of what's happening around you, then if you really want to tag of a good human being, you can take it. But I would say, it's better you're a joyful human being, not a good human being. Because the moment you say something is good, essentially you have to make something else bad, isn't it? Otherwise how? No. See, the very idea of goodness is coming because we consider something else as bad, isn't it? The more good I think I am, the more I will think all these people are not okay.
No, but I also think that
Please look at the fundamentals of goodness. How is it no?
It's a very relative word.
It is very relative. See, someone who thinks he is very good in his mind, nobody in the world will be okay. If nobody in the world is okay, it's not a good question of goodness, it's a question of sickness.
No, but if somebody thinks he's good, then he feels others are also good.
See, right now, the idea of goodness, when you use the word good, it cannot exist without the opposite of bad. It cannot exist. It doesn't matter how much you try to play it up, how much makeup you apply in the bad and say we will accept the bad also. The idea of goodness has come from considering something else as bad. The more and more you get identified with what you call as goodness, the more and more you will resist what you call as bad. In this resistance, the moment you say, I am good, you have divided the world into two. The moment you divide the world into two, there is no question of inclusion. There is a certain exclusion, isn't it?
There's an apple lying here and there's no other apple.
I'm sorry?
There's an apple lying here and there's no other apple around. And I say this apple is good because it is good.
See, because you have seen rotten apples too. Okay? If you had never seen a rotten apple, you would just say it's an apple. You wouldn't say it's a good apple.
Yes, that you have seen. But that doesn't make this apple bad, no?
I'm not saying that. See, only because there is a rotten apple which you consider as bad. A rotten apple is not a bad apple. A rotten apple is feeding other kinds of organisms, okay? What you call as a good apple tastes good in your mouth. Rotten apple is tasting very good for some other organism, that's why it is rotten. Somebody else, this apple only one human being eats, that apple 1 million organisms are eating. So your idea of a bad apple is a rotten apple simply because somebody else is eating it, it's bad for you. It is not a bad apple. It is just being eaten by somebody else with whom you don't identify, who are microorganisms.
What do you think of time?
See, from where to where we're jumping.
Time is again a human creation.
Yes, definitely. Otherwise, how do I tell you what time to come for dinner? If we all become timeless, how to invite you for dinner, tell me?
We are all slaves to it.
We don't have to be slaves to it. It's a device that we used for our convenience. See, if we don't divide this day into 24 hours, would you know when to come here for dinner? It's a convenience. Where is the question of enslavement?
I come when I'm hungry, I come, even if it's here.
So you may come when you're hungry, but there may be no dinner when you come. You may not feel hungry till 1 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't mean it's the dinner time here.
I mean, you get too bound by when time is...
See, any convenience that we create for yourself, time or money or a car or a technology that we created for our convenience, out of our unawareness, we get enslaved to it. There is nothing wrong with the device that we created. There's nothing wrong with the car. There's nothing wrong with the money. There's nothing wrong with the time. You got enslaved to it out of your unawareness. That's the problem, isn't it? Time is not the problem, money is not the problem, car is not the problem, any other technology is not the problem. You got enslaved to it, that is the problem. Enslavement happened because you're unaware. So your unawareness is the problem. So how to become aware? What is this awareness? Awareness is on many different levels. What you are aware of is all that exists for you. This must be understood. Right now you're sitting here, don't turn back and see. Right now there is a huge dinosaur standing behind you. You are not aware of it. Does it exist for you? No. So it doesn't matter, such a huge animal is standing there, you are not aware of it, so it doesn't exist for you. So only what you are aware of exists for you. Right now your awareness is limited to small aspect of your life. Whole aspect of spirituality means to become aware of everything that you are, so that before you go, you know life, you experience life in its totality. To live totally. To live and to live totally. That's spirituality. So that you know life in all dimensions. You don't go just knowing a little part of your life. You want to know all of it. So if you want to know all of it, how? If we have to use an analogy, let's say we turn down the voltage for the lights. Now let's say just one light is there, it just lights up only that much. Only that much we see. If you turn up the voltage, suddenly you're able to see much more, because the light has spread. So awareness is just like this. Right now your energies, your body, your emotion, your mind, everything is functioning at a certain limited voltage. You crank up the voltage, suddenly you start seeing so many things which are not in your experience till that moment. So in a way, to put it very simply, to put it technically, you need to turn up your voltage. The voltage, the life voltage within you. Today she was saying, she doesn't want to sleep because she wants to live. If you don't want to sleep, I don't want to sleep will not take away sleep. You turn up your voltage. Suddenly, no sleep. You can turn up your voltage simply with your enthusiasm, but that will not take you all the way. There are other kinds of technologies to turn up your voltage in a certain way, where all the time you're high. See, within myself right now I'm absolutely drunk. Not with alcohol, okay? I never touched it. I'm totally drunk within myself. Am I balanced enough and logical enough to handle any situation? Yes. So all the time I'm fully drunk on one level, another level I'm perfectly sane. If I want to flip, any moment I'll flip. If you are like this, inside you're fully charged, outside you're controlled. This is what is needed in your life if you want to experience life in its totality. You tried to exercise control over your life and you started putting this control over your very process of life. So life is happening like a trickle. Life within you should happen like a huge explosion, but outside it is fully controlled. You will see initially when you go into your face like this, even the outside tends to happen like an explosion for some time. But within a limited period of time you will gather control over it. Outside is controlled, inside is an explosion. That's how it should be. Every moment of your life. Within you, life should be an absolute explosion. Outside of you, it is properly controlled. When it's like this, you will get to use your physical body, your mind, your emotion, everything that you have to its fullest extent. Things that you never thought you were capable of, suddenly you start doing simply because your voltage is full.
Evolving of a human being is also when you are dependent or you give yourself to another being teaches you how yourself is important but how the other is important too.
Now, once you know the importance of the self, the other doesn't exist, everything is self. When everything is self, everything is absolutely important. There is nothing in the existence which is not important. It's not for you to decide what's important and what's not important. Because even if you look at a blade of grass, whoever created this definitely did not create it without necessary attention. Whatever attention has gone into this one, the same level of attention definitely has gone into even a little insect, isn't it so? Not been created carelessly. So if the creator, whatever is creating this, thinks it is important, what's your business to think something is important or not important? Every damn thing in the existence is important. Because creator thinks it's important. He's paid enormous attention to it. It must be important, isn't it? And when you experience everything as you, everything is very important. Because you are important, isn't it? See, the seat of your experience in this world is you. It is yourself. Your very basis of your experience is you. So without you, there is no life. Making the other important is not the point. It is just making the other as yourself, or making yourself as the other. That transforms everything. Now, I know it's always been understood or misunderstood that if you walk the spiritual path, first thing is leave your husband or leave your wife. Yes, if it's spirituality is a good excuse, honorable excuse to walk out of your marriage. Instead of going through a simple divorce, if you take sannyas, it helps socially. But what is spiritual is something that you do within yourself, not what you do outside of yourself. Whether you live in a cave, or you live in a palace, or you live in marriage, or you live as a monk, these are arrangements that you make according to your requirement. But spiritual process is always the inward, not of what you do outside. What kind of clothes you wear, what kind of life you live, is nothing to do with your spirituality. The way you are within yourself is your spirituality. Thank you very much for being here. I would like to take this opportunity. We have a full-fledged center about 35 kilometers from Coimbatore in the rainforest. It's an extremely beautiful place. I didn't make it that way. The mountains were there before me, the forest was there before me. So we have created a very powerful center. Powerful, when I say, is something that you have to experience. It's a very powerful space. The whole space has been consecrated for one's transformation. That just entering the space is a different experience for people. The way it is done, everything is 100% volunteer force. The whole Isha activity is 100% volunteer, every one of them who is working for it. There are over 250,000 registered volunteers and over 700 full-time volunteers in the foundation who are doing a wonderful, miraculous job. I'm not saying wonderful because of the volume of work. The volume doesn't mean much to me, but the way it's being done. With what kind of love and involvement people are doing things in everyday life is so fantastic. I don't pass a single day in my life without seeing tears of love and joy around me. I don't think a man can have any better fortune. I want you to come and experience this fortune someday, please.
You are my perfect mirror, you show me what I'm not. In the endless pit of what once was me, layer and layer you peel off me. The pain it is, but the joy it brings. So thank you for showing me what I'm not, for showing me what I could be. Thank you endlessly.